p.m. to 1 p.m. today. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Government funding runs out in about a week and a half, but the House and Senate are expected to vote on short-term stopgaps that would avoid a shutdown.
The GOP plan extends government funding through November 21st, and it includes close to $90 million to boost security for federal officials. But some Republicans say the measure doesn't include enough money to protect lawmakers in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Democrats say the bill should contain an extension of expiring tax credits that have made Obamacare plans more affordable. The Senate will take up both parties' proposals, but neither is expected to cross the critical 60-vote threshold.
ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, all of the markets are in the black. The Dow's up 55, the S&P 500 gained 11, and the NASDAQ also up 84 points. Coming up, mild temps this week, but a chance for rain. Heather KSL Traffic is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states, as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Steve Carlson.
I-15 in good shape with normal speeds right now between Ogden and Spanish Fork. You have lingering delays, though, in Lehigh. This is on eastbound Pioneer Crossing approaching I-15. And traffic at a crawl on southbound SR 36 due to construction heading into Tooele City. From system install to fast fixes to deliver award-winning heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical, call Whipple Service Champions for the win today. Steve Carlson at the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with highs in the lower 80s. This weekend will be much of the same, but with a chance of rain and thunderstorms in the afternoon tomorrow and Sunday. Right now, it's 64 and clear skies. I'm Heather Kelly from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So today, at the campus of Utah Valley University, there will be a vigil held for murdered political activist Charlie Kirk. And we have with us in studio KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who's been following this story quite closely. Adam, it seems like we've had you on the line with us every day this week and last week, and you've been down to the school quite a bit. You're here in studio today. I wasn't aware of this. I don't think we'd had much discussion about this. We knew that there was going to be the funeral in Arizona over this weekend. I think it's either tomorrow or Sunday. But what can you tell us is going on at the campus today?
Yeah, so it's going to be a very large vigil. They're hosting it inside the basketball arena, the UCCU Center, so you can expect there's going to be hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people that are going to show up to this. And I remember seeing advertisements for it like at least by Wednesday, if not earlier. So I know they have been planning this for a little bit, but it's starting at 4 o'clock. They're also going to have, I believe on the university's website, there's going to be some kind of live stream too if you don't want to go in person. But I think the big thing to know is just for people going to this, it is going, I think the security details, the noteworthy thing, because we've learned that they're actually going to shut down campus at 1 o'clock. So they're going to shut everything down, lock all the buildings. Police are actually going to do a sweep through the area. Obviously, we've talked about, the alarm bells, heightened sense of security the last couple days. So they just want everyone to feel safe, not taking any chances. So police are going to sweep the area. All the buildings are going to be locked at 1 o'clock. And then the doors to the UCCU Center are opening at 2:30. And then at that point, you're going to have to go through metal detectors, and they're not allowing bags inside. I don't know if there are exceptions. I say that as a father who had to take a little kid up to Rice Eccles Stadium a couple weeks ago, and it's very glad they allow certain bags in. But it sounds like no bags will be allowed inside the UCCU Center. Again, I don't know if there are exceptions, but metal detectors, again, opening at 2:30, but then the vigil itself starts at 4 o'clock.
So what are we expecting? You said a lot of people, but what does the vigil look like? Have you seen a program or anything like that?
Right now, no programs yet, but I have just seen a little bit on the website. The school's basically talking about, we want people to come in a spirit of mourning, but also like it's a time to mourn, but also a time to unite. They want people to come together and be, to mourn, but also be thoughtful of one another. That seems to be the prevailing theme today. And I think the university's kind of tied in, not just giving people time to process their emotions, but also coming together and kind of promoting that free exchange of ideas, like what Charlie Kirk promoted in his life. They've always seemed to tie that in. I think on their website, they actually threw in some of that language of, we want to create an atmosphere where or a space that we can share ideas with each other. We can all come together and unite, because that has been the prevailing message through this tragedy.
Right. I think they are calling it the Vigil for Unity, right? So it's that idea. I'm guessing there's no live flames, right? We're not going to do that. It's not going to be something like that inside.
No, I expect it to be very, trying to think of the right adjective, but I expect it to be very, professional, calm. I'm sure there's going to be moments of silence, quiet, time to reflect, time to just kind of take in the moment. I don't expect this to be a big, showcase. Expect it to more be a time focused on people and the person that we've lost.
So it's being hosted on the campus, and I know you haven't seen a program, but I assume that it's going to be almost, I don't know what the word is, overseen by campus authorities, and I would assume, Adam, that someone in administration at the Utah Valley University is going to lead it off or preside over it.
I'm sure leadership's going to be very involved in it. And again, security detail is going to be very heavy inside the UCCU Center and outside. Like I said, police are going to start sweeping the area at least an hour or more before people can even get in the door. This is going to be, the university, I think, has been instrumental in putting this together. And like I said, ever since I've been down there this week, police presence has been, you can't walk 100 feet without seeing a different police officer. They want people to feel safe. They want campus to be secure. Because like we talked about, there was a person arrested allegedly making a threat towards UVU just days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated on campus. So it's just like, look, we don't want worries. We want to bring people in, give them a chance to mourn, unite, come together. It's all community centered.
Do you know if they're going to have any kind of drones or anything like that?
That I don't know.
We've talked about that a lot too. Do you have any sense of how either the public or students on campus, how are they feeling about maybe attending another gathering that might have a lot of people there?
There's definitely been some nerves. I've talked with a few kids and a couple employees while I was down there, and you can tell immediately their sense of security has been just absolutely shattered, like broken into pieces by what happened to Charlie Kirk. And the university president said outright, it's going to take time to get that back. It is. And I talked with a couple of kids that were like, I am worried. A couple guys that were out trying to promote unity after we found out the suspect in the manhunt, Tyler Robinson, was brought into custody. They were out with signs trying to promote messages of like, we are not afraid. Let's come together and end political violence. They even told me straight up, like, I am worried about attending a large-scale event, something like this happening again, but I think the university is doing everything in their power to not only make people feel safe, but ensure that something like this doesn't happen again, because they realize, university president on down, they know what kind of impact this has had, and I don't think they ever want their students or employees to go through something like this again.
Adam, I think we have in our mind's eye, at least I do, from having seen some of the overhead shots and whatnot of the quad, the area where this occurred. And I think the last report I had was that it's still cordoned off, or still sort of, there's a fence around it. And there's also a memorial set up for Charlie. Can you just describe those two venues?
Yeah, so there's actually a few different memorials. I've seen two. The first one that I kind of got a look at was the one where the media were camped out by the roundabout a lot of the time while we were down there, by the administration building. And there's a big memorial to Charlie Kirk right there on one of those lawns right by, I think it's the B parking lot. And then it expanded day by day with flowers, balloons, signs, crosses, and then expanded to where campus actually had put out boxes of chalk. People could write messages or scriptures, right in front. So that has only grown. And then you see chalk messages to Charlie or scriptures actually all over campus walkways, at least the outside ones. And then when you go into the courtyard where Charlie Kirk was shot, like you said, that grassy area where he was, kind of goes down in a few levels. He was down in there. That's still blocked off. I've been told they've been even doing some repairs down there. There's another memorial in the courtyard on the higher up area, the concrete, which is more just flowers, pictures, chalk messages on the walkway. It's kind of hard to walk a few feet without seeing some kind of tribute to Charlie on campus. Again, I've only seen a small part of the campus, but it's not, you don't have to go far to see that people are thinking about this. They're trying to find ways to cope. They're trying to find ways to feel safe again and also honor, him and how he lost shot on campus. So.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So that's this afternoon. It'll start at 4 p.m. Doors open at 2:30 p.m. and it'll be live streamed by the university. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. KSL News Radio. Is Adam Small. Well, sitting next to me, we're going to check in with KSL's legal expert, who is right there. He is a well-respected defense attorney, and we're going to talk about Tyler Robinson's attorneys, how much death penalty cases cost, where we are in the process of finding someone to represent him. And just remember, Greg Skordas has 40-plus years of experience. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Amanda, I'm always on the hunt for a deal where I get the highest quality for the best price. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? But Bedrock Quartz delivers that. They give you the highest end countertops and backsplashes and bathrooms and tiles and all of those things. And right now, you can get the best price ever on what they have.
I love that they've extended this friends and family discount through the month of September. So you literally will pay what an employee of Bedrock Quartz would pay through the month of September. And they did 2 bathrooms at our old place and 1 in our new place. And Andy, there's just nothing like getting in a shower that is as beautiful as it can be with Bedrock Quartz.
If you're in your home and you're not looking to move, but you can still make it feel like new with new countertops or new bathrooms. So right now, when you go into their showroom, the price on the showroom is what it is installed, no additional markup.
And that's true whether it's quartz or quartzite or granite or marble. And they have 100 different options to choose from. So you'll find something you fall in love with.
They're a fourth-generation, family-owned countertop company headquartered in Utah since 1976. Check them out online at bedrockquartz.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Comcast Business High Five Hotline. What's the state of your excitement?
I signed my business up for the 5-year price lock guarantee, and I can't stop high-fiving people. High five!
Okay, deep breath.
High five.
You're in a good place. You signed your business up for 5 years at gig speed internet and advanced security, all on our ultra-reliable network.
Gig speeds and advanced security? I'm so stoked.
Yep, and you get it at a great rate that's locked in for 5 years.
Woo!
The high five is just your body's way of saying, I'm winning.
So this is natural.
High-fiving everyone you see in a state of business savings enthusiasm, totally natural.
Sweet! Thank you! Thank you! High five, everybody! High five!
The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee is back, but only for a limited time, so sign your business up today.
High five!
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 9/21/25 for new customers with qualifying bundle. Current customers may be eligible depending on services and area. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
The search continues to find an attorney for the 22-year-old man suspected of killing Charlie Kirk. That is Tyler Robinson. And in the chair next to me is not only my co-host on Inside Sources and KSL's legal analyst, but Greg Skordas has been a respected attorney in the field for over 40 years. Greg, you've been consulting with Utah County on a pro bono, which means no pay basis for several years, right? To assigning legal representation in some of these cases. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, so actually the county agreed to pay me whatever. They've been very generous. I just haven't billed them.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. This case I might create an exception. And I have to say, they absolutely took the high road. I don't want to say anything bad about the relationship. The county attorney always advises the county on contractual matters. But he thought, and the county commission thought, and I think to their credit, that he shouldn't be involved in contracting for his opponent.
Right.
Setting and picking his opponent. That seems odd. And you'd be surprised, but it happens in other counties. But anyway, so he said, look, will you just come in, Skordas, and I want to stay out of this, and you help. And it really started with the public defender's office itself and their budget, and we set that up. And then both sides got along great. The public defender down there is wonderful. The county attorney does good work, and the county commission has been great. But then you have these sort of a la carte cases that are these death penalty cases because you can't build them into a contract because they're just so big. The county has money for them. So I think there's a notion that, the taxpayers are going to shell out a bunch of money. They sort of already have, and every county has some program set up in place in case you get one of these cases because they're expensive. But then you have to not only find attorneys for that each time it comes up, and we've had several, and in fact we've got two we're looking at right now. It's just that one of them happens to be high profile. And then you have to set the budget for those, and most of them are preset. But in a case like this, Holly, it's got more going on, and so we can't use the normal budget. Mm-hmm. We're tweaking it, not a lot, and this isn't going to be some huge expense to the Utah County taxpayers. It's an expense that's already built into their budget. But we're just trying to be fair to both sides and make sure that he gets competent counsel, because if you think about it, you look at some of the cases that we're dealing with here in Utah right now.
Right.
There are two or more that we're dealing with where trials were held 40 years ago. And we're looking back, or even 10, 20 years ago, looking back and say, well, the attorney should have done this and should have done that. And so you can be penny wise and pound foolish. And I'm not saying if you get a cheap lawyer, you're going to get a less qualified lawyer. But I would say that if you pay a fair price, you're going to get good lawyers that will sign up and want to do it. So that's what we're looking at. We've got a pool. I think we're down really to 2 or 3 right now. Mm-hmm. And there's a very good chance that we'll have an attorney on board by the end of the day today. Usually attorneys, and I do public defender work, I get assigned by the federal courts all the time. They'll call me up and say, we want you to do this case. And you're going to get half your normal rate of pay.
Right.
You also know that there's a cap on it, so you can get paid up to a certain time, and then you don't get paid anymore, no matter how much work you do, because you've exceeded the cap. That's what you do, and that's what criminal defense attorneys do when they sign up to do that kind of work. It's just what we do. I have no problem with it, and the good lawyers that we've been dealing with are under that same impression that they know that they're not going to make what they normally do. But it's also a case where, let's face it, you're going to face some scrutiny, and attorneys are saying, well, this is a case that I may be known by, and I people might, who knows, there may be some level of fear taking a case like this.
Yeah, I have a question just about. I think it's even maybe a 2-part question. So, how much does a death penalty case like this cost? But I think the 2 parts may be, how much does it cost to defend a case like this initially, and then maybe how much in ongoing costs?
Yeah. So, I mean, without talking about the wisdom of the death penalty itself, let's just agree that it's much more than putting someone in prison for the rest of their life. Yeah. Now, public disagrees with me, but I'll just tell you, doing a death penalty case is so much more expensive than a life without. And because we wouldn't be having these conversations if the county attorney said, I'm approaching this as an aggravated murder and I'm seeking life without, but I'm not seeking the death penalty. Mm-hmm. That just adds a different. Mm-hmm. So I'll just give you an example. My wife does budgeting for the 10th Circuit federal death penalty cases in the 8 or 10 states that compromise the 10th Circuit, and she's Oklahoma, Nebraska, New Mexico, Utah, whatever the states you'd expect in the Rocky Mountain area. And sometimes these cases reach $1 million. Now, We're not talking about those numbers. We're not talking about that. We're not going to break the bank here. But we do. They can be expensive, and you could certainly get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But again, the county's already put that in their budget, so it could be a long time. And then the second part of your question is, what happens later on? Then you've got the appeals that are just so much more involved and last for so long. I mean, Ralph Menzies, we're still hearing
40
cases
years
and
later.
appeals. Had he got life without parole 40 years ago, or 39 years ago in 86,
we wouldn't even be talking
we would
about
have
him.
forgotten about him,
Yeah,
and we'd have
long
saved
time ago.
millions of dollars. But nonetheless, the voters want it, the legislature wants it, 2/3 of the states want it. So the death penalty exists, and I'm not trying to be critical, but it's an expensive process if we're going to continue to do that. I think people know that and recognize that and are willing to pay it.
Yeah, interesting. So we've talked before on the show, and you've educated me and our listeners that one of the reasons that the attorney pool is a lot smaller than it is for just a quote-unquote general case is because you have to be death penalty certified.
Right. Yeah,
and I can't remember what you told me that designation was besides that.
Yeah, we call it Rule 8 qualified
Rule 8.
or death qualified.
Right.
There are only certain attorneys that have that qualification. And the qualification is, so let me make another thing clear. In America, you have the right to hire your lawyer, and you can hire any lawyer you want.
Sure.
You can hire the lawyer in your neighborhood that does bankruptcy law to do your death penalty case. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you may not get the results you want, but there are great lawyers that can handle anything.
Sure.
But if the public's going to pay for it, if you're going to be a court-appointed lawyer, you have to be death qualified. And there are, I don't know how many, I've quoted numbers in the 20s and 30s of us that are death qualified, but it means you've tried murder cases. It means you've had classes on how to handle death penalty cases. It means that you've gone to jury trial and you've worked a certain level of cases in your career, and they look back, 5 years and 10 years or whatever. So the idea is, because we don't want these appeals that just go on and on and on, we want competent counsel, and any judge will tell you this. I'd rather have a trial with an aggressive, good lawyer than a bad lawyer, because I know that I'm only going to have to try the case once. Yeah. Because the last thing we want in a case like this one, because, and any case really, but we don't want to try this case again in 5 years or 10 years.
Right.
Or,
40
years, right. Let's just get it done right the first time, even if we pay a little extra now, because you will save hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million or more down the road on appeals. And I'm trying to tell people that. They're like, well, why are the taxpayers having to pay this money? Because the Supreme Court of the United States has said that for 100 years, that an accused in America is entitled to representation. People can hire me, but there are certain people that can't afford an attorney. And so they get a public defender, and probably 2/3, maybe 3/4 of our criminal cases are handled by the public defender's office.
Right.
And a lot of us cut our teeth there. I started my career at the public defender's office, and that's when you're in court every day. That's when you're doing, you're carrying stacks of files, and you're trying to see what's going on. And they have great public defenders in this state, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But they're largely attorneys who are willing to work for less than the people in the big law firms across the street. They just make that commitment, and they love it.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from you because of this case is that you also have to have a team of 2 people.
Right.
So do you want to talk about that for a minute?
We always want to assign at least 2. If you looked at the prosecution's team when Jeff Gregg gave his press conference, he had 5.
Oh, yeah.
So some of the attorneys are telling me, well, I want 5. I'm like, you don't get 5.
Yeah.
So we have to have at least 2. And then you can have an expert, and you can have a mitigation attorney or something like that. So maybe you could sort of get up to 3. But I've told all these law firms, you're not getting 5 attorneys no matter what. And even if you do, which is not going to happen, you're still capped out by your budget. So you bill against it all you want, but at some point you're going to run out of money.
All right. Well, we're going to keep us informed so that we know when he finally gets an attorney.
Well, and speaking of money, grocery prices are up. Utah unemployment rate is about stable, and the federal interest rate is down. What does all this mean? We'll break it down with an economist when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Kelly. KSL's top local story this hour. Public safety leaders are giving an update on how Utah's new road rage law is working. Authorities say prosecutors have filed nearly 150 road rage enhancement charges since lawmakers added it to state code last year. But going forward, Utah Highway Patrol Colonel Michael Rapich tells state lawmakers they hope they can learn more about what else contributes to road rage.
Who's involved? what other violations were involved. Was alcohol involved? Was domestic violence involved? What are all some of the contributing factors?
Rapich says men account for nearly 90% of road rage deaths in Utah, and they tend to spike around April and May. 2 men who went missing while hunting in the Rio Grande National Forest in Colorado have been found dead. Andrew Porter of Asheville, North Carolina, and Ian Stasko of Salt Lake City left to go hunting a week ago. Their car was initially found at a trailhead with camping gear still in it. Their bodies were found 2 miles away. Family members say the 2 were experienced hunters, but a storm rolled in around the time they went missing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration is ramping up its response on free speech and broadcasters following ABC's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC's Elizabeth Schultze has more.
Thursday, the FCC chairman praising Nexstar and Sinclair, 2 of the biggest owners of network TV affiliates, after they said they wouldn't air Kimmel's show. Carr suggesting the FCC could intensify its actions against TV broadcasters. Top Democrats in Congress calling for the FCC chairman to resign, accusing him of a corrupt abuse of power.
President Trump suggests the FCC should take licenses away from networks that only give him bad publicity and press. Your money at this moment, the Dow is now down 26 points, the S&P 500 even, but the NASDAQ has gained 27 points. Coming up, we've got some rain in the forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Power outages happen year-round and they're always unexpected. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and some people have medical equipment that needs to stay on, or maybe you don't want the hundreds of dollars of food in the freezer to spoil. Regardless of the reasons, Any Hour Services can help with a backup generator. Now, a lot of people think that backup generators cost thousands of dollars, but we have packages that'll run the essentials and start at less than $2,500. That includes the generator, the connections from the generator to the house, and the installation. We also carry and install larger generators that can run the whole house and kick on automatically when the power goes out. Of course, those cost more, but if you call right now, you can save $1,000 on any standby generator purchase over 9,000 watts. A licensed electrician from Any Hour Services will walk you through the process and show you what options are available. And if you need it, we have flexible financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. To schedule a free estimate, call Any Hour Services today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent from Alpine Home Medical, and I'm humbled to win Utah's Best of State for 2025 for the 15th year in a row. After 28 years, we're all about you. Over 1,700 5-star Google reviews and a 4.8 customer satisfaction score to prove it. We'll keep working hard for you. I've spent this year advocating with lawmakers for better Medicare reimbursement, ensuring you always have the best access to medical supplies you need. From Idaho Falls to St. George, our 11 stores are your home for comfort. When you hear Alpine Home Medical, think of that best of state experience every single time. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your team and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Let's go! You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And we've got delays for anybody trying to transition from I-215 in Murray to head southbound I-15. It's only the transition ramp. Main flow I-15 is doing well, but as you move from Midvale into Sandy on that transition ramp, we've got an accident right where that ramp merges onto southbound I-15, and that is blocking a right lane and shoulder, causing all the delays. Again, backing up onto I-215, both the east and west side of the belt route. Everybody else traveling at speed on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. But you do have delays in Tooele County, SR 36 southbound, trying to get into Tooele City due to construction. Don't waste your time trying to sell your old car. Donate it to Cars for Kids. It's the fastest way to donate your car and get a tax deduction. Donate at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Today you'll be mostly cloudy with highs in the lower 80s. This weekend will be much of the same, but you could see some rain or thunderstorms in the afternoon. Right now it's 66 and mostly cloudy. I'm Heather Kelly from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We look at the economy, we look at prices, and we look at where people are financially, and we see a lot of things that are, I don't know, not necessarily consistent, but maybe not inconsistent. Grocery prices are up over 30%, or almost 30% over the last 5 years. They've risen steadily since February 2020. Unemployment here in Utah, we've seen, has been fairly steady, fairly consistent, although the jobs numbers have been worse than we had expected. And then the Fed just this week dropped interest rates by 0.25%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a significant drop. And then I'm looking at the stock market, which is up near record levels, and I'm thinking, okay, all of this picture, what does it mean? Is this a good sign for the economy, a bad sign for the economy? And so let's get somebody that actually knows what all this means. And that's Robert Spendlove, Senior Economist for Zions Bank. Robert, thanks for joining us again this morning.
It's good to be with you.
So tell us, where are we right now? And let's start with the Fed dropping the interest rate. What is that a signal of?
Well, it's a signal of this uncertainty. The Fed started dropping rates a year ago, and they dropped them in September and then December, and then the Fed put those rate cuts on hold. And they've been on hold for the last 9 months, and they just restarted cutting those rates again. They've been really struggling with what to do. Usually you cut rates in a bad economy, or if you cut rates if you're worried about the labor market, and you keep rates higher if you're worried about inflation. And the Fed is kind of looking at this and they're saying, well, inflation hasn't come down like we had hoped it would, but we're starting to see weakness in the labor market. And so, Jerome Powell talked about this week. He said, we're dealing with two risks. Do we think the risk of inflation is bigger, or do we think the risk of unemployment going up is bigger? And that's their struggle.
It's so interesting to me, and I am not an economist at all, so I always learn from you, Robert. But it sounds to me like you've got mixed messages. You just said that, and they decided that inflation was more of a danger. Did I understand that correctly?
No, it's the opposite.
The other way.
They're saying we're not as worried about inflation. We're more worried about employment, which would justify lowering that rate.
How does that impact housing?
Well, so what it could do, if the Fed's dropping that Fed funds rate, it should push overall rates lower. So you could see lower mortgage rates. You could see lower borrowing costs for cars or businesses or credit cards. However, the rates have already dropped. They dropped in anticipation of the Fed lowering that rate. And so in the last couple of days, we actually saw mortgage rates go up a little bit after the Fed dropped that rate.
Why is it, Robert, that the administration, the Trump administration, has been so adamant about and even critical of Jerome Powell in trying to get interest rates down? And I say that in light of what you said a minute ago, that sometimes dropping interest rates is not necessarily the sign of a good economy.
Yeah, what the president cares about is he wants borrowing costs low. Remember, he comes from the real estate industry. And so the lower those rates are, the more you can borrow, the easier the access to capital is, and the more the economy grows. And so right now, by definition, the Fed has rates they call it restrictive. So that Fed funds rate is at a level that is by design trying to slow the economy. And what he's saying is we need to go from restrictive to accommodative and drop that rate down so low that it kind of pushes the economy to grow. But the risk of dropping rates too much is it feeds that higher inflation. That's what we saw in 21 and 22, where the Fed dropped rates too low and they added in too much extra cash into the economy, and that caused the economy to overheat, and that's why we saw that really high inflation.
Wow. I have a question specifically about groceries. Is there anything you're looking at specifically? Look, I know the president campaigned on lowering grocery prices. It hasn't really happened. But is there anything specifically that you're watching as an economist?
Yeah, so, if you think about the overall inflation, remember that the Fed's target is 2% inflation. And right now, overall, we're at 2.9%. So we're closer to 3 than we are to 2. But then within that area of groceries, you've got this, it's kind of like a whack-a-mole. Mm-hmm. So cereal prices are down. Milk prices are pretty low. But where we're seeing really high price increases, and I hear this from people all the time, is beef prices. Beef is up 13% or nearly 14%. Egg prices are up nearly 11%. And coffee prices up 20% in the last year. So we're not seeing it across the board, but where we're seeing those price shocks, they're really big.
When I think of inflation, and I am by no means an economist, I think, 2 or 3% inflation doesn't seem that bad. What number do we get to, Robert, that, and maybe we're there, when we start to worry a little bit? You'd expect some inflation, I guess is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and remember that kind of top-line inflation, that 2.9%, is the average. And so, when you've got an average of around 3%, and the Fed's concerned, so we don't want deflation. We don't want prices dropping overall, because that can be really destructive to the economy. But the further away you get from 2%, the easier it is for those price increases to escalate. So, again, back to 21 and 22, we went from 3% to 9% almost overnight. And so that's what happens when that inflation becomes kind of unhinged. And, we saw that a few years ago. We also saw that in the 1970s. And so when inflation starts to escalate, it can go really fast. And that's what they're trying to control for.
Let me ask you one last question, Robert, in about a minute. What effect do you think we have seen from tariffs because they've been such a huge part of the Trump agenda?
Yeah, and that's been one of the big struggles is, the kind of economic theory would say a tariff will be passed on to the consumer. And we've seen that in some areas, but we haven't seen that across the board. We're at 3%, but we haven't seen what would be a tariff spike. And so, are we going to see that in the future? We don't know. But if we don't see that, then you say, okay, then how are businesses absorbing these big cost increases? And that's where it might be popping up on the employment side. Because if you're a business owner and you can't pass those price increases on to the consumer, then you have to eat it. And the way you eat it is you pull back on your business expenses. And one of those business expenses is employees.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thanks a lot for joining us, Robert. That was Robert Spendlove, senior economist with Zions Bank, and
always makes a lot of sense.
He really does. I always learn something from him. He's so smart, and so glad that he will join us. Groceries and feeding my family. That was one of the questions I got when we were raising our gigantic family. It is like the number one question: how do you feed them?
Oh yeah, and you've had
how do you feed them? Right,
a lot of kids. I mean,
yeah,
you've had a
I
huge
had 20
family over the
kids
years.
at home
Yes.
at one time, right?
Yeah,
so sometimes I would just say I had to octuple my recipes, right? But
but your food
anyway,
costs had to be
food costs were astronomical, right? But we had to be really, really good with our money and very, very careful. So, okay, so next, bridging political divides is something former Governor Gary Herbert has experience in, and I'm excited to say he's going to be joining us next.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, stay with us on KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Amanda, I'm always on the hunt for a deal where I get the highest quality for the best price. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? But Bedrock Quartz delivers that. They give you the highest end countertops and backsplashes and bathrooms and tiles and all of those things. And right now, you can get the best price ever on what they have.
I love that they've extended this friends and family discount through the month of September. So you literally will pay what an employee of Bedrock Quartz would pay through the month of September. And they did 2 bathrooms at our old place and 1 in our new place. And Andy, there's just nothing like getting in a shower that is as beautiful as it can be with Bedrock Quartz.
You know, if you're in your home and you're not looking to move, but you can still make it feel like new with new countertops or new bathrooms. So right now, when you go into their showroom, the price on the showroom is what it is installed, no additional markup.
And that's true whether it's quartz or quartzite or granite or marble. And they have 100 different options to choose from. So you'll find something you fall in love with.
They're a 4th-generation, family-owned countertop company headquartered in Utah since 1976. Check them out online at bedrockquartz.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. One of our values is to do only what is good for our customers in the long term. Our goal is to have you as a happy Arctic Spa customer even 10 years down the road and longer. This means that we only sell and service Arctic Spas. We are built for the long term because we cut your electric bill in half compared to other brands. We do multi-level seating, armrests, adjustable pillows, and 100% massaging jets to make it more comfortable, so you will continue to enjoy it over the long term. The Arctic Spa has automatic saltwater care and automatic pH control. Less worry means you will enjoy it more over the long term. Focusing on Arctic Spa customers gives you a better experience with our knowledge, training, parts, and accessories that you need for the long term. You will enjoy your Arctic Spa longer, making us the least expensive option over the long run. When you're looking for a long-term hot tub with service for the long term, check us out at ArcticSpasUtah.com, covering all of Utah with stores in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate, and the best long-term choice for you.
Hey Ryan, you remember that trip we took in our tent trailer down to Southern California?
Oh, that was the best.
Making memories with Paris RV. Hook up to the 2025 Forest River Rockwood 16 OTG for only $9,195 or $148 per month, 0 down. Or the 2025 Highland Ridge Open Range 177 BH for only $14,995 or $171 per month, 0 down. Or the 2026 Coachman RV Catalina Summit Series 7 134 BHX for only $14,995 or $171 per month, 0 down.
Take your family out RVing with Paris RV.
Paris RV is your locally owned, family-run RV dealership. We strive hard to find the very best RVs for the price. With 4 locations, over 1,000 RVs in stock, 42 service bays, and 4 super parts stores, we're sure to help take your family on the best RV vacation. Check out our perfect family bunkhouse trailer, the 26BH, that sleeps 9 for $19,995 or $227 a month, 0 down. Life is short. Enjoy it. North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Pocatello. ParisRV.com.
Utah Rail Safety Week is Monday, September 15th to Sunday, September 21st. Whether you drive, bike, or walk, safety starts with each of us. Learn more at UtahOperationLifesaver.org.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So I know our next guest as the previous governor of the state, but before that, he had a number of years. Well, actually, I knew him as the lieutenant governor, too. So former Governor Gary Herbert spent a number of years as an elected official at the state and local level, and then, of course, as our governor. And then after he left the governor's office, he partnered with Utah Valley University to create Utah's newest public policy institute, which is the Gary R. Herbert Institute for Public Policy. Good name, right? And I was wanting to have him on the show to talk about policy, and then a different event happened at Utah Valley University.
Yeah, quite a bit has happened since then, which actually makes it even more topical to have him here and more appropriate. I've known the governor since before he was the governor as well, and just a very impressive man. It never surprised any of us that he elevated himself to become our governor and served in that position very well.
So, Governor, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Holly and Greg. It's nice to be with you this morning.
I wonder if we can just jump right in and have a conversation about how we can bridge political divides when we don't agree with each other.
Well, that's a great question. We have challenges in life, whether it's husbands and wives, parents and children, neighbor to neighbor, politicians and constituents. We have a hard time sometimes in getting along and having civil dialogue and respect for differences of opinion. And I say the first thing, Holly, is that you've got to want to. The partisan divide is so vitriolic out there that you wonder, does anybody want to get along? We play King of the Hill so much that we have what I call an us versus them mentality, and them is always the enemy, and they need to be destroyed. And the level of discourse is really disappointing and needs to be improved.
Governor, what do you think is going on in our country right now? I mean, I'm 43, or excuse me, I've been a lawyer for 43 years and I'm 68 years old, but I just don't recall things being this divisive. And I'm just wondering if you have a take on what's happening right now in our country.
Well, I think I have some theories, and I'm 78, so I'm a lot older than you, Greg. But, you look back at just in our own lifetimes, I mean, forget going back to the founding fathers. There's always been some contention in politics. But think of Orrin Hatch. He worked with Ted Kennedy. They were great friends. They didn't agree on everything, but they worked together to try to find solutions and solve a problem. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is a good example of, by all accounts, a liberal Democrat in her politics, but was confirmed to the Supreme Court 96-0. No opposition. I mean, think of what we've done and politicizing the Supreme Court and other courts for that matter, and now it's along partisan lines. It's like nothing good could come from a Democrat or from a Republican, and then we act surprised when we find judges that, well, he was appointed by George W. Bush, and he's siding with the liberal majority, or vice versa with Barack Obama appointment. He's siding with the conservative. The courts shouldn't be conservative or liberal. They should be just the courts. Apply the facts of the law and render a decision. But we've politicized it so much. I think it is this attempt to win at all costs. It's just we have reinforced our biases with cable television. Republicans listen to Fox, Democrats MSNBC, and that reinforces whatever your bias is, it's going to be reinforced. And so we just create this divide, and we think each other as not loyal opposition, not colleagues, but the enemy.
Yeah, so Governor, and we are speaking with former Governor Gary Herbert, but if we want to bridge the divide and if we want to move past seeing people who disagree with us as an enemy, what are one or two practical steps that you have seen work in your lifetime of working to bridge divides?
Well, thank you. Let me just give you some examples of my life. I don't mean to just focus on me, but it worked. One, I reached out to the Democrats when I was governor. We met with them once a week, always with their leadership, sometimes more than that. But what's on your mind? What are our goals? We have a lot in common. We have similar outcomes that are desired. We sometimes only differ on how we get there. Size of government, the role of government, redistribution of income. We want to have healthy economy. We want to have good schools, good roads, environmental concerns, public safety. So those are the outcomes. We just argue over how we get there. So we would sit down and talk about those things. I would say, and I think this was a good model for me, I am a right-of-center Republican, a right-of-center conservative. That's why I affiliate with the Republican Party. But I'm moderate in tone. I don't call people names. I don't think that does any good. Certainly don't convince anybody. And I'm inclusive in process. I'll sit down with anybody and talk about the issue, and let's see if we can't reason together. And, Horace, we may even find a way to compromise and find common ground. Compromise has become kind of a dirty word. If you ever get any of these fundraising letters from people in Congress, my gosh, send me $5 by midnight tonight or we're all going to die. And so I would suggest all of us, when we have a difference of opinion, we think, well, that's wrong. But we ought to think in terms of, well, listen closely, you may be right. That's a phrase we ought to use more often. Greg, when you and I are discussing, and I should say, you may be right. Let me give that some thought and consideration, and let's get back and talk some more about it. Having some kind of a dialogue and mutual respect and deal with civility is something that's hard sometimes to do. But if we want to have the ability to get along, we need to make an effort to get along. Right now, I think John Curtis is one of the people I think is doing well in trying to do that. He's probably the minority in Congress and the Senate today.
What do you think it is about Utah, though, Governor? And I'm thinking of just the governors in the last 20-so years, even though they've been Republican. It does seem like Utah, and I know that we had a horrible event that happened here last week, but it kind of gave us I don't know, maybe a black eye, maybe not. But I listened to Governor Cox. I've listened to you over the years, other governors. What do you think we're doing in Utah? We're not following that national trend. Why do we get along here better than it seems like most of the other states are doing?
Well, I think it's because of the culture. Sometimes we don't like to talk about the culture. Does that mean we're mostly LDS? We're a much more religious state than most other states, and I think that brings kind of a camaraderie and an appreciation and respect for somebody else. I think most religions believe that God is our Father, which means we're the children of God. We're brothers and sisters. We ought to treat each other with better respect. I think that helps us to get along. And, for the LDS, one of the great talks that's been given here in the last year was by Russell Nelson, the president of the LDS Church, who gave a talk on being a peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers. And he talked about that. And I listened to the talk, and boy, I was thinking, well, I know a lot of people could use this talk. When he said, a lot of you out there are thinking I'd like to share this with somebody else. And yet we all ought to say, wait a minute, maybe he's talking to me. Maybe I'm the one that should be looking a little introspectively and say, maybe I'm doing things not quite as good as I could. Maybe I should be a little bit more cordial, respectful, and civil in my own dialogue.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'll just mention one thing quickly. I got a call from Politico here not too long ago. We have this boundary redistricting problem here in Utah we're working through. But I had somebody call me from Politico and say, we just had a person that came out and said the judge, Judge Gibson, who made the decision, is a left-leaning communist pinko liberal. And they said, and Governor Herbert, you appointed her. What is your comment to that? And of course, it makes me cringe to think that somebody would say that, use that language. But I just said I've been around long enough. I know a lot of exaggeration, hyperbole comes out of Washington, D.C., and this is just an example of that. We got to get away from that kind of rhetoric. It doesn't do anybody any good, and it certainly doesn't help us solve any problem.
Thank you so much, Governor, and thank you for joining us. We hope to have you on again. That was former Governor Gary Herbert who joined our show, and I thought he had some really great insights about bridging political divides, right? And saying just this one phrase, you may be right.
Yeah, and he just has such a calming presence about it. It was just nice to hear from him. It was a perfect time of where we are in our country to hear that voice and that reasoning. Utah cracked down on road rage last year. We have some preliminary data. Utah's new road rage law working? Let's find out after the break. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. Good morning. I'm Adam Small with our top stories this hour. We now know who will be designing the big changes coming to the area around the Delta Center. Smith Entertainment Group has hired architecture and design firm HKS to lead the master design for the whole sports and entertainment district. The group has already helped design other popular sports venues around the country like AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles.
We feel like this is going to be one of the most impactful things that we can do with our public and private partnerships to revitalize the downtown area.
Salt Lake County Mayor's Office spokesperson Liz Solis tells me the county has hired 2 groups to help design changes specifically for the Salt Palace, Abravanel Hall, and Umoka. Construction is expected to start in early 2027. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House has asked if the FCC was going to put pressure on other TV networks after ABC removed the Jimmy Kimmel Live show from the airwaves.
President Trump, returning from the UK, suggested the FCC should take licenses away from broadcasters that are repeatedly critical of him.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
A move that would be at odds with an executive order the president signed on day 1 in office, pledging to protect free speech.
ABC's Morgan Norwood reporting. French President Emmanuel Macron today climbed the steps to the belfry of the Notre Dame Cathedral ahead of the official reopening of the cathedral that was destroyed nearly 6.5 years ago. The public opening is tomorrow. Your money at this moment, taking a look at the Dow, it is currently up 44 points, about 0.1%. The S&P 500 is up about 12 points. The NASDAQ is up 85. Coming up, clouds moving in today ahead of some potential rain tomorrow. We'll take a look at the forecast next. KSL News Time is 10:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Nothing since the invention of the internet will change how we do business more than the AI revolution. Both good and bad, but certainly significant. Before the internet, communicating was personal, voice, writing, then email and text added a layer of mediation. Now AI programs will write communication for you. Then they will read and summarize communication for you, putting yet another layer of mediation between you and your colleagues. Careful. The nuances of voice and facial expression often communicate very important emotions that are not captured by just text. In the coming weeks, I will discuss how AI will impact the workplace. If you want to know more about how to better communicate in the workplace, consider an MBA at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Cooler weather. What a relief. Unless you have old drafty windows. Soon the heat will escape through the cracks and your energy bill is going to go through the roof. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products and get brand new state-of-the-art custom windows and frames at factory direct pricing. The factory is right here in Salt Lake City, where they've been building precision windows since 1986, and you're going to save a lot of money since there's no middleman markup. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows. Even better, call now and they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Double pane argon-filled windows with a low-energy triple coating, any style, any color, and Advanced Windows gives you a lifetime warranty. If you have an issue, they're not 10 states away. They're right here in town, and they offer 0% 60-month financing. So make the call now. Get $2,500 off. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the crash that we had southbound I-15 in Midvale has cleared. All the lanes are open, and the delays have cleared out as well. In fact, you're going to have a really nice drive right now on the I-15 corridor in both directions throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. No issues on the east or west side belt routes or the 201 freeway. But if you're in Tooele County, SR 36 has construction going on. You're down to one left lane that's open heading southbound from Erta into Tooele City, and it's caused backups that entire stretch from Erta into Tooele City, so allow an extra 10 or 15 minutes on your commute through that space. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for a high of 81 degrees today here in Salt Lake City with more cloud cover. Tomorrow looking dry in the morning along the Wasatch Front, but then looking like some scattered showers and potentially thunderstorms in the afternoon. Looks like it clears out a little bit more on Sunday. Look for a high of 79 by the time we hit Sunday. Right now it is 70 degrees, mostly cloudy skies in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Utah lawmakers cracked down on road rage last year, and is their new law working? We are learning some preliminary data about road rage trends across the state, and public safety leaders are giving an update on how Utah's new road rage law is working. Here's KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Since lawmakers added a criminal road rage enhancement last year, authorities say prosecutors have filed nearly 150 of those enhanced charges statewide. But Utah Highway Patrol Colonel Michael Rapich tells state lawmakers they hope they can learn more about what contributes to road rage as time goes on.
Who's involved? What other violations were involved? Was alcohol involved? Was domestic violence involved? What are all some of the contributing factors?
Rapich also shared some trends they found while tracking road rage over the last few years. They found since 2019, men account for nearly 90% of road rage deaths in Utah, and they tend to spike around April and May. And the most common day they see road rage is on Sundays. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Maybe they should go to church instead.
Sunday, that's the day we go out. I have a motorcycle, and I ride, and that's the day you go out for a ride. That's
right.
You go out for a Sunday drive with a motorcycle or with your car or whatever. It's with the leaves changing. That should be the day you're the most calm
and you're ragey.
Yes,
ragey. So I hope this doesn't make me sound too biased, but I'm not surprised that most road rage deaths come from men.
Oh, no, not at all. No, because men are more likely to want to engage in combat. You know what I mean? I mean, really, my wife, she'll come home and she'll just be scared. You can tell that something's bothering her, and she'll say, I cut somebody off in traffic, and they started following me, and they're doing this, and maybe if you have a man who's being chased by a man, they'll stop and say, "Hey, what's going on?"
They'll just pull out a gun.
Right, or what? Yeah, or do something crazy like road rage. And she's like, she can't get home soon enough. Yeah. She just wants to get out of the situation. And so, it doesn't surprise me for 1 second. It does surprise the Sunday thing surprises me.
Sunday, and what's interesting is the springtime, right? And this is like they don't know the why behind it; they just know the numbers. And so it's more common in May and April, the top 2 months, accounting for about 28% of the cases since 2019.
No explanation for that, except maybe, and I'm just
maybe
completely
it's pollen.
Or you just you're through with all the
The winter
and the snow and everything, and you're back to freeway speeds and not being afraid to go fast. But I would say this: if you're looking at numbers, and we're not necessarily looking at just the pure numbers, if you say, okay, we had X number of road rage cases over so many years, and then we pass a law to enhance it and to sort of redefine it, you're going to have a lot more, because you've just made the net bigger.
Right.
You're going to have a lot more road rage cases. So I
Right.
would expect that the law actually increased the number of road rage arrests, but probably, I'll give the legislature credit. I think it probably decreased the incidence of road rage overall. But just I see what
we
you're
saying.
have more
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are going to be charged
Right.
with that, whereas
Right.
before they'd be charged with reckless driving or something like that.
Do you remember the enhancements? Because I think it was something with. Do you have it was with consequences, wasn't it? So if you have more than one incident of road rage,
So it's enhanced. Some crimes have these 3 strikes rules.
Right.
So your first one becomes a serious crime. If you have future ones, they get worse. But if even just the road rage itself enhances what would otherwise be a traffic offense to be a more serious crime. So just the levels of crimes we have in Utah, you can elevate those by virtue of the fact that it involved a road rage incident. Because what they're trying to do is discourage people from getting out of the cars.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to make hand gestures or do all these other inappropriate things, just at least keep driving. But when you get to the point where you're cutting someone off, or you're bumping cars, or you're bumping bodies, then you've crossed a line for everybody that gets involved in that.
Yeah.
We've even had, how many deaths we've had?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy that you would think you're driving home from work one day and you get so mad at somebody that you cause, or you're the one that's killed. I mean, that's just lunacy.
Look, one of the other things they looked at was unlicensed drivers, and one of the things that they said is we don't have a great way to track who is driving without a license until there's some kind of an incident.
Until they're stopped, right?
Right, until they're stopped. But maybe there could be legislation. I'm looking at a KSL.com article about this data, right? But there's a number of reasons people might be driving without a license. Maybe they never had one. Maybe it's been suspended. I mean, in fact, it's interesting that the spike of unlicensed drivers started during the pandemic, but it stayed higher. Like, it hasn't gone back down, which is kind of like the schools, absenteeism.
Crashes involving unlicensed drivers is up. Motorcycle fatalities up. Let me give you my theory on unlicensed drivers. I think we have more unlicensed drivers than we had before because we have more crimes that take a person's license away. And so
Do we?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, DUI used to be, you get a restricted license. Now they take it away. You can take it away for a period of time. It can be a greater period of time. We take people's license away for hit and run. You can take people's license away for all kinds of things. And what happens, though, Holly, unfortunately, is people continue to drive. So as we pass more laws taking people's license away,
They just drive anyway.
we create more unlicensed drivers on the road. And I'm not saying that the legislature is wrong. I think in large part they're right. It seems like you end up with more unlicensed drivers on the road.
I have a story about my grandma. She was living in Utah, and they took her license away. I think she was 90. She passed away when she was 6 weeks shy of 102 2 years ago. But she was about 90 years old. She had lost her ability to really see well at night. And they just said, at a certain age, you have to come in and retest. And she was very offended that they took her license away. The only thing she drove after that, though, as far as I am aware, is her little gardening cart. It's like a little golf cart, so she could
There
still
you go.
garden.
Right, yeah. It's disturbing to me as a motorcycle owner that motorcycle fatalities are up. But
I know,
it
we've
just
been
seems
talking
like
about
we talk
that.
about that a lot. I mean, every weekend there's a motorcycle fatality.
Yeah, there were 2 last weekend, actually. Yeah, and I just saw what I thought was so unsafe yesterday in that heavy traffic that coming in I-15, it doubled my commute, and there was a motorcyclist weaving in and out, and he pulled right in front of me. I could see him, but the person on my left, he was going to merge over. It looked like there was a space, and he had pulled right into that truck's blind spot.
Yeah, my wife and I were driving to the Greek Festival a week and a half ago, and there were a bunch of motorcyclists just standing there on the side of the road, and I looked down, and the motorcyclist had left the roadway. I went down and responded because of my medical training as EMT, and she was okay. Well, relatively. Her motorcycle was a disaster, but I thought, boy, if it hadn't been a grassy hill, if it had been a rocky hill, or it had been a hard rock itself, I mean, she went off the road and down the hill.
Oh, gosh.
And ruined her bike, and banged herself up, but she could have been
She's
killed.
still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys be safe out there, okay?
Seriously.
All right, look, I have to tell you, I have been looking forward to our next guest for weeks. The world has felt, I think, super heavy. Sharon Eubank is going to join us in studio and talk about the power of service as a balm. It's coming up next, and we're streaming live on KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
The movie show is going to be live today from My Hearing Centers. We're at one of their many locations in Utah. We're at the Sandy location at 90th South and 700 East. And well, why is it important that you live near a My Hearing Center? I'll tell you, because today they've got an awesome deal for KSL and movie show listeners to come in and test out the latest in hearing aid technology. But it's more than just testing out hearing aid technology, Matt Deering. You guys have an offer for people to get some free stuff.
Yeah, here's what's really neat about that. You don't have to live next to a My Hearing Centers because there's a good chance that a My Hearing Centers is already next to you.
That's what I was going to say.
So don't get up and start thinking I've got to relocate your family to take advantage of this great offer.
That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So if you or a loved one are experiencing hearing loss or any kind of hearing difficulties, typically it's understanding, right? It's not so much that you can't hear things you hear. You're just having a hard time understanding. You're asking people to repeat themselves. You're turning up the TV too loud. If that's happened to you or your loved one, call right now. We're doing free hearing evaluations at all of our locations up and down the Wasatch Front. And if you come in and we find that you have hearing loss, we'll let you take the hearing aids home, these brand new BTCIX, the alphabet soup of hearing aids.
The alphabet soup of hearing aids.
We'll let you take these home risk-free for 30 days, and at the end of the 30 days, we'll give you a gift card to get some movie tickets.
You may not remember all the letters in the name of this hearing aid, but you'll know what quality it is once you try it.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the best part about trying it is you get to experience those conversations again that you've been missing out on again, or your loved one gets to experience those conversations. Give us a call, 801-701-1629. Schedule in any of our offices up and down the Wasatch Front or in St. George.
And if you call and make that appointment during the movie show and you keep your appointment and complete the risk-free trial, Matt's got an extra bonus for you.
We're doing a drawing for a free set of these hearing aids. So a 1 in 50 chance that you'll be able to get a free set of hearing aids as well.
So that's another reason to call 801-701-1629. It's 801-701-1629. And make that appointment at My Hearing Centers for a free hearing evaluation and a chance to test out the alphabet soup, BCTIX, latest cutting-edge hearing aids.
When you take your grandkids to Disney, do they know what's in your investment portfolio? Do they even care? They're busy having a great time, and you're busy making memories. At Galileo Wealth Management, we understand the nuts and bolts of retirement planning, our investments, the stock market, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and more. But think about it. What are you trying to do here? Is your goal to beat the S&P? Or is your goal to make memories with your family? Our goal is to give you the confidence to spend in retirement without the fear of running out of money. Call Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management today, 801-516-3227. That's 801-516-3227, or go online to GalileoWealth.com. Let Todd Kim and Galileo Wealth Management help you make memories, not just money.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
The new Inside Sources.
Look, we have been talking about some really heavy topics recently. Of course, we've been talking about the death of Charlie Kirk, and before that, we talked about the death of the 2 police officers in Tremonton. And sometimes it can just be so heavy. I've felt it. My husband's felt it. He said he just feels helpless and hopeless. And our guest in studio that I adore is Sharon Eubank. She's the Global Humanitarian Director for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And she just wrote a book, and it's called Doing Small Things with Great Love, How Everyday Humanitarians Are Changing the World. Ta-da! But
which you have a copy, and you
of course I do, and I've read it, and I listened to it on audio, and I listened to a couple of other podcasts. No pressure, Sharon. But really, one of the things that I think it's so important to talk about, and Sharon talks about it in this book, is replenishing ourselves.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you tell us about replenishing ourselves? We're all feeling, I think, a little depleted, maybe a lot depleted right now. And what can we do?
There's so many things in our culture and our society that we have to do just to, live our lives every day. Some of them are reading the news, listening to things, but it is depleting because there are so many difficult things, and we feel the heavy weight of that. And I've said this before, but I don't think we don't ever mind that we plug in our phones to get, power out of that. We don't mind that I plug in my car or I put gas in it, because we have to replenish ourselves, and we need to replenish ourselves. In faiths, there are built-in breaks, like a Sabbath or a time of refreshment, to bring ourselves back to God and get grounded in that. And when we're working in volunteerism, and I'm guilty of it, my gosh, it feels so heavy and difficult. And I'm looking always for those opportunities to replenish myself so that I can keep going.
Sharon, one of my bucket list things is to write a book, and of course I'm getting to the end of the bucket, but I can't. My wife says you can't write a postcard, and I was reading from your book, and I think you write so well, and you almost seem to have some inspiration. There's something about your writing that, where do you draw from that? Where do you draw that from, I should say?
I can't really take credit for this book because I tell 92 stories in the book, and it's the people, it's those stories, the application of these principles that provide that inspiration that you're feeling. And so for me, I was so happy that someone was interested enough to publish this book and highlight what people are doing around the world that works.
I've had experience with this, being able to get out and serve and having it bless my life. I'm wondering if you could share, even like the subtitle is Everyday Humanitarians. How can everyday humanitarians start to feel service as a benefit? How does it benefit everybody?
If we feel pushed, then we need that replenishment. But when we choose to serve in whatever way is our passion. Yesterday I was over at the Episcopal Church with an interfaith group talking about the Great Salt Lake. It's an issue I really care about. And I was standing next to people from other faiths. Maybe we vote differently, we look differently, but we care about this issue. And I left there feeling so excited. When we connect with an issue that is important to us, instead of being a chore, it becomes a blessing. It's good for our mental health, it's good for our communities, and I'm always looking, how can I help people connect with something they really care about and then feel that uplift?
Yeah. Can I follow up with something? Sometimes I think also we get the ideas that we're doing people a favor. If I come serve in the food pantry, I'm helping you because you need food. Do you want to talk about that?
I'll tell a story on myself. There's different panhandlers that stand around my office building, and there's one, she's just very assertive, and I'm so scared of her that I walk across the other side and go in the other side of my building. And I was going into the building with my colleague, and she said, "Hey, Marilyn, so nice to see you." And they had this beautiful discussion, and I said, "How do you know her?" She said, "I met her in the crosswalk, just like you." But they knew each other, and they talked about each other's families. Instead of being a panhandler, she was a mother, she was a friend, and I realized that exchange, that dignified exchange, I was missing out on all of that because I was going around the building on the other side. Mm-hmm. So I love that exchange. Marilyn has something to offer me. I have something to offer Marilyn. We're not any different from each other. We just have to have that equality and that dignity.
You know, one of the things that we've been, having a hard time with in this show, because we want to be topical, we want to be talking about what's going on in the news, is just what's going on in the news. And we had former Governor Herbert on just a little while ago, who talked to us about, divisiveness and just sort of where we are right now. What do you think that our listeners could gain by reading your book and just talking about the service and the things that you talk about here that might help right now what's going on in our country?
What's going on?
I know that's a hard question.
Well, yeah, it's a heavy question. In the book, of course, people always disagree. We disagree about lots of different things, but there are certain things in our culture and our society that bring us together. And they're really simple things. And I tried to talk about them in one of the chapters. Sports, a cross-section of people, music, food, and service. And all of those things give us some kind of common ground that we can come together on. So it's important for me and for lots of people to be able to say, we aren't the same in so many ways, but we care about, the food that our kids eat in their cafeteria, or we care about this sports team that we all love. Let's build on those things.
One of the things that stood out to me is you talked about Bowling Alone. That's a Robert Putnam book, and you said he has added a caveat to that. It can't be a drudgery. Do you want to talk about the value of fun?
Yeah, Robert Putnam wrote this book about we should, have more clubs. And then he came back and said, you can't just do it because it's like castor oil. It has to be fun. And we're just human beings. We respond to things because we enjoy them. And some of those things that I mentioned before, we do because they're fun and because we enjoy them. And it doesn't have to be so, moral, that's the wrong word, but we can do things because we enjoy them and find the enjoyment of other people. Let's bring the fun back.
You shared a story about a colleague, Gustavo, I think, and when in my head, as I'm hearing you share this story, I'm seeing that movie, Santa Claus, right, with Tim Allen, and he's coming in, and it's this terrible, terrible Christmas party, and he just comes in, and the whole thing becomes a party, and it sounds like Gustavo was a party.
Gustavo would just love that you compared him to that movie. Gustavo he just brought the party. He was open to everybody. He knew lots of movie lines. He was a chef. He brought food to every event, and he was a great gatherer. He just gathered all different kinds of people. He passed away, and I miss him more than I can say.
We were looking at a study a couple of weeks ago about men and the fact that there's so many, even successful men, who feel like they're missing a purpose. Like life is good, but they don't know their purpose. And it seems like service outside of whatever else you're doing can fill that role. Don't you think that humanitarian work, and I mean, if you're practicing law and you're helping people, but you still feel like, man, there's something missing. There are things out there that you could do, like what you're talking about in your book, that could help that, give you a sense of purpose.
I have a colleague who they always got together. They were BYU students, and they loved to go to the games. And so even as they were in their mature years, they would go to all the away games. They would travel as this group of 6 or 7 guys. And finally they realized, we're putting all this money into traveling to the away games, which is fine, but we have all this expertise. Why don't we turn this out and do some service at these away games? And they said, of course, we love the football, but that service element completely changed the whole thing. We felt bonded to a group and the places that we went because we were giving of ourselves. And I think more of that could easily be incorporated.
One of the things that I've learned too, as I've tried to incorporate service into a very busy life, is I have to be deliberate, number one. But number two, if there is a community that I'm feeling uncomfortable with, the best way for me to feel less uncomfortable is to go learn about them, serve them, meet with them. Have you found that as well as you've worked around the world?
I had a teacher when I was in high school who required us to debate an issue on the other side that we believed in. So we would say, this is where I am on this issue. And he'd say, all right, I want you to go learn about and debate this other side. That was really important for me to be able to see the values of something that was on the other side. And I think for people who have that skill, who can be open to a different opinion that's different than their own and learn from that, that is one of the premier skills of peacemaking.
Oh, yeah.
So, would you do us a favor? Can you stick around? Because usually our guests come and then they leave. And I have about 27 more questions I would like to ask you, if you don't mind.
All right, just for you.
Okay.
We've been speaking with Sharon Eubank, by the way, so stay with us over the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top local story this hour. This afternoon, Utah Valley University will close down most of their buildings and invite the community to take part in a vigil for unity following the shooting of Charlie Kirk. The vigil starts at 4 and the doors open at 2:30. There will be a heavy police presence at the event. Utah employers added 33,600 jobs over the past year. Department of Workforce Services spokesperson Jared Mendenhall says the latest report indicates Utah's economy remains strong even while the national economy has slowed.
Overall gains were led by education and health services, where we added about 20,000 new jobs. We've also continued to see that rebound in leisure and hospitality with 4,200 new jobs.
The state's unemployment rate remained at 3.3%. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump has been speaking with Chinese leader Xi Jinping today over the phone. The two are working on trade deals and discussing the sale of TikTok. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 134 points, the S&P up 19, and the NASDAQ is up 110. Coming up, a few showers tomorrow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:30.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Sometimes I think it's lost the importance of taking care of hearing early in life. You got to, for example, you can reduce the risk of long-term hearing loss, but more than that, it also helps you maintain quality of life. And we're here at the movie show today live at My Hearing Centers at one of their many Utah locations. They have one near you, and today they're offering for KSL listeners and especially movie show listeners an opportunity for anybody who's having hearing difficulties or starting to experience hearing loss, a chance to have a no-cost hearing evaluation for you or that family member that you love. And you'll have the chance, if you do have some hearing loss, to test out a pair of cutting-edge hearing aids risk-free for 30 days. Now, you do that during the movie show, and you're one of the callers who calls in and schedules that appointment. You'll also have a chance today to be entered to win a set of these brand new BCTIX hearing aids and the lifetime service that comes with it. We've talked a lot with our friends here at My Hearing Centers about the effect that hearing can have on health long term. And one of the great things about My Hearing Centers is when I say they get the latest in hearing aid technology, they get the latest in hearing aid technology. I've been on the show for 2 years now, and in the 2 years they've had at least 2 full upgrades of beyond what it was just when I started, and each time it adds new features. And I will talk with Matt Deering as we go along in the movie show today about some of those features. But boy, if you think your hearing aids are the old things that just fill up your ear canal, you are in for a treat to see what they can do now. So don't wait any longer. This is your chance to get a free hearing evaluation. Call 801-701-1629 and make that appointment. 801-701-1629. Again, if you call and make that appointment during the movie show, you'll be entered to win a drawing. They'll have a drawing for a new set of BCTIX hearing aids, and I think he's going to throw in an extra bonus for people who called during the movie show. We'll get that out of him when we talk with him a little bit later on. 801-701-1629. Make that appointment with My Hearing Centers.
Hey, want to hear something great? Right now at Wendy's, you can get 2 of the #1 selling bacon cheeseburger in all fast food, the JBC, plus medium fries and a medium soft drink for just $8. Want to hear something else great? Double the burger means double the bacon. Now that's a game changer. 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers with fries and a drink for just $8. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Individual items at regular price.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to the end of summer sale at AutoZone. We're celebrating the end of long days and short nights with big deals for a short time, like car wash. Right now, you can save 20% on the Armor All Complete Car Wash Kit. Need new brakes? Duralast brake pads are free with the purchase of Duralast rotors. We've also got oil deals and more. We're ending the summer right with the end of summer sale at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather K. Kelly.
We've got debris scattered across the on-ramp in 2600 South Woods Cross. This is affecting drivers both directions of 2600 South trying to go southbound I-15. Now, it looks like traffic is getting over this debris, sand or rocks, gravel possibly. So they're getting over it okay, but you just want to slow down as you get onto southbound 15 from there. Otherwise, you're going to have a great commute right now. No delays on I-15 itself throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. Just be aware if you're in Tooele County, southbound SR 36 has major backups right now due to lane restrictions as you head into Tooele City. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy and 81 today, then there's a 30% chance of showers tomorrow in northern Utah. Most of those showers will be in the afternoon. Right now it's mostly cloudy and 72 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We're back with Sharon Eubank, Global Humanitarian Director for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Sharon, I have wanted to be you for a long time. Not to be you, actually, to do humanitarian service. And I know that you hear that. I want to be a humanitarian, right? What does that look like? And I love that you say everyday humanitarianism. And I'll tell you, look, almost 20 years ago, I took my first international humanitarian trip. And I did what you talk about a lot of people do in the book. And I want to go and I serve. And you are so right that you go for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then you go back and you never go back again, right? Or maybe you go one more time. It's the people on the ground then who live with whatever you came and did or didn't do. And I've learned a lot over my 20 plus years of working in that space. And I did a TEDx talk once called, I labeled it, but Cross the Ocean, Across the Street, meaning you can serve anywhere. And I love that in your book, you share 12 principles. And the first is you are most powerful where you live. Why is that?
I think everybody feels like you and I have felt, they need me more in Ukraine than they do in Utah, or, their problems are bigger and different. But as you said, and it's a true thing, you were only there for a short amount of time. We most of the time don't speak the language. We certainly don't understand the culture the way somebody does there. And all of those things are superpowers. And if we work in our own community where we live, all those things are active all of the time. It's harder. Of course it is harder because we understand the underpinnings about other things. I know about a woman in Provo. She saw a widow in her stake, and she said, you know what, I'm going to help her. And she got the kids ready for school, ran the laundry, made a meal for 2 years while that widow went back to school. That kind of in-depth, you can only do that at home, and it changed the life of that family forever. There's chances to do something like that all around us. We just have to open our eyes.
Sharon, can you expand on something that Holly just mentioned, which are the 12 principles, without going through the 12 principles of 12 for the benefit of our listeners, the 12 principles of what?
Well, I call them everyday humanitarian principles, because these are the principles you can follow when you want to be powerful where you live. And the way I came up with them was I looked back at all my mistakes and then said, what would be the principle that would help me fix that? And I wrote some of those things down.
So let's talk about what we can do as individuals. And you have a large list, and I know you're going to get into some detail. But first of all, I have a very first question. What do you mean when you say smile with your liver?
We talked about Gustavo earlier. This was his thing. He said, you can smile with your face. Anybody can do that. But if you smile in your liver, your whole body is smiling. And you meet people like that they're just accepting. They're open. They're approachable. That's what we call smiling in your liver.
That's amazing.
I was looking at part of the book, and I'll admit I haven't read it, but Holly let me peruse it for an hour while we were preparing. And I saw a passage where you talked about the golden rule. And I thought it was fascinating that, because I always think of it as a local idea, but it's not at all. It's universal. And you had found at different societies and different peoples and different speakers that had defined it in slightly different ways, but it's a universal concept, really, isn't it, for people?
Yeah, I was so surprised writing the book, looking for a tenet that went across all kinds of different faiths, that the golden rule of treat others the way you would like to be treated, or don't treat others the way you don't want to be treated,
the converse.
exists in just about every single faith, major and minor, that there can be. And I listed them out just because I thought it was so interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And like you say, it was also the secondary part of it, which was, which I hadn't considered, don't treat people like you don't want to be treated.
That's right.
There's so many groups or so many authors that you had found that espouse that principle as well. It's the same idea, but we don't think of it that way.
And the reason I put that in the book is when we're looking for something in common with other people, particularly of other faiths, and we don't want to offend them, and we don't want to push our own beliefs on them. Here's something that you can start with. We both believe in this. Let's talk about why it's important or what it means.
All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. So what are things that we can do, and where are places we can go to find out?
It's so hard to start. We have just ideas in our mind, and so many of those ideas are, I will go someplace else and give something, physical. So in the book, I wrote 50 different prompts, and some of them are the easiest things in the world. Go to your local school, particularly the junior high.
Mm-hmm.
The elementary school gets a lot of people, but the junior high doesn't. Sit down with the principal and just say, tell me about the school. What are the dynamics? What do you want the community to know? You will have such a productive discussion just doing that. And all kinds of ideas will come from that. But you need the 45 minutes that it's going to take to make the appointment and go sit down with them. But it'll be really rich.
Where else can people go to find out more information?
I would go to your town council. I would go to your mayor. But one of the easiest things to do in our community is to pull up the app on JustServe, put in your zip code. I did it just before I walked in the studio. There were 75 things around my house of things that I could do, including donating men's pants and making sack lunches for the homeless and helping kids with yarn projects, all kinds of different things.
What about younger people? And I'm talking about school age, not necessarily K-12, but we had this incident that happened at Utah Valley University, and it's rocked the campus and it's rocked the people. And I think that a lot of young people think, well, what you're talking about here is something I'll do when I'm older, when I'm retired. What about, because I think a lot of young people right now are wondering, where are we? What can I do? What would you tell them?
I think the incident at UVU was so devastating because we were trying to have a dialogue about people who did not agree, and then it ended in terrible violence. But I don't want that example to get in the way. My colleague from Rotary, he said, we need to wage peace as aggressively as other nations wage war. And I think respectful dialogue without violence is one of the great instruments of peace. And I hope we don't get discouraged about that. I hope we can continue to do that. We don't agree, and that's a good thing in our society as long as we can work together.
I mean, that really... it rocked the nation. It was something, and I wasn't even familiar with the speaker, Charlie Kirk. So I've never heard of him before. I don't know what it was about that got everybody's attention. And it seems to still be. I mean, there's a vigil today at 4:00 this afternoon. There's a ceremony tomorrow in Arizona. I mean, and I do think there are a lot of people. I really feel that way, Sharon, who are. Especially, I think I look at younger people. I really do, and who are thinking, what can I be doing right now? What outside of just going to school? What can I be doing? And what would you tell them?
I think our country was specifically founded on the ability to disagree and have it be safe, and certainly free speech is part of that. And if you are looking to do something, reach out to somebody with whom you don't agree, and try to develop the skills to have a conversation where you don't get mad. Mm-hmm. At least I don't understand what you just said. Can you tell me more? I don't agree with you, but I still like you. Those kinds of skills I think are important, and we should practice them.
I think maybe I'm answering your question, but when I've spent some time serving in our local food pantry, and I have taken my kids with me. I don't think it's ever too young. I know there's a young boy in our neighborhood who during the pandemic started a hot chocolate stand. He was like 8 years old, maybe.
I've seen some of the most powerful things by kids that are 8, 9, 10. I love that you take your kids, and I hope that your kids might take you somewhere to a cause that they really care about and let them plan it. I think that's important too.
That is a good advice. Actually, I've never thought about that one.
One thing I've learned about service from my practice, and you'll probably laugh at this, is you get clients who get in trouble, and the judge says, well, you can either go to jail or you can do community service. And they're like, okay, I'll do community service. And when they're done, they'll call me and say, I got involved in the food bank. I did my 40 hours that the judge ordered, and now I've done 80. And my family's come in. We've really done 120, and we're coming this weekend. I mean, it is something that people get involved in, and then they're like, why wasn't I doing this before?
You've just said that instead of being a punishment, it's the greatest reward. They moved from I have to do this 40 hours of service to I just did 120 and I love it.
Right, and I'm going to do more.
I'll
I mean,
do
the
more.
people. I don't know that people really appreciate that. Thank you
Look,
you so much.
We're just going to remind our listeners the name of your book. It's Doing Small Things with Great Love, which is a Mother Teresa quote. How every day humanitarians are changing the world, by Sharon Eubank. Of course, the person we know and love is the humanitarian director for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. When we come back, we're going to join the movie show. Stay with us.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The movie show broadcasting live from My Hearing Centers. We're going to start the show in about 15 minutes, but want to make sure that you have plenty of time to call into My Hearing Centers today during the movie show because we've got some extra bonuses. The first and most important thing at My Hearing Centers is it gives you a chance to get a free hearing evaluation. No cost to you, no upfront note, none of that stuff. They're going to give you a hearing evaluation for you or a loved one. And then, if you do have any hearing loss, which they'll discuss with you, you'll have a chance to test out the cutting-edge hearing aids, Signia BCTIX. These are Bluetooth connectivity transformed. That's what the BCT stands for. And IX, I'm assuming, means 9. But either way, this is the world's first hearing aid with multi-stream architecture. It can actually pinpoint multiple moving speakers in real time. This is fancy, like high-tech James Bond kind of stuff, and it just fits super small inside your ear canal. You can make immediate adjustments through an app on your phone. They'll walk with you, teach you how to do all of that stuff. Own voice processing. Here's the thing. I'm using headphones right now, and when I talk into it, I can hear myself talking in my ear in a different way. And for many years, that's how hearing aids worked. But with the BCTIX, it actually finds the way to eliminate that extra little echo of your voice coming in so that it actually sounds like it does when you're just hearing yourself without electronic headphones on. And they'll come with these rechargeable batteries that can give you 3 full charges from your case, so you'll never have to deal with batteries again. This is all part of the Signia BCTIX, but to take advantage of this deal with the free hearing evaluation and the 30-day risk-free trial of the hearing aids, you got to call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. That's 801-701-1629. Make that appointment during the movie show, and you'll be entered to win a free pair of those BCTIX hearing aids and lifetime service. 801-701-1629.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL, Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Inside Sources.
Well, we reached the end of another week, and it's been
It's
uplifting
been a month.
end to the week. Yeah, it
Or a
certainly
year.
has been. It certainly has been. I think that we've had so much going on in our state and in our country, and it's continued. It seems like every time you go into the weekend, you think, well, okay, Monday's going to be another week, and we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. Where are we going to go? And then it almost makes itself for you. It's almost like you come in Monday and it's like, okay, your show's already
That
written.
is the news business. But look, I was telling our producer, Caitlin, earlier this week, and I told you as well, that when I took this job 3 months ago, I did not realize how often we would have to talk about sad stories of people dying.
I know. Well, let's get to something fun, like your fun facts of the day.
Okay, so today is National Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yeah, right? That's about all I got. So it's not a huge holiday, of course, but who's your favorite pirate? Do you have a favorite pirate?
Oh, is it Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Jack Sparrow is the pirate.
Yeah, right. I have my embarrassing pirate story. My wife and I did this motorcycle ride, and it was this rally for some children's cause or something. You're all supposed to dress up like something, and I dressed like a pirate, and I was driving this motorcycle, and I just thinking, I look so ridiculous. I don't make a good pirate. And of course, I didn't have my helmet on or anything. We're driving to this event, and I just remember thinking, I will never dress as a pirate again. And it reminded me of that line from the show. I don't want to be a pirate, but I don't want to be the pirate. Remember? You apparently didn't see it.
Which one?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh no!
Yeah, famous line from his show. I don't want to be a pirate.
So I was thinking of a line with Johnny Depp from those movies, but he had one where you're the worst pirate ever, and he go that I've ever heard of, and he said, well, at least you've heard of me.
Right? Yeah. There we go.
So it's also a happy birthday today to Representative Trevor Lee, and on Sunday to Senator Ron Winterton. Those are both in our Utah legislature. And I will also say, so fun facts of the day, we just talked about this week how George Washington was working on his farewell address. So on this day in 1796, it was actually published. So again, he didn't stand at a podium and deliver. He published it in a paper, and his speech writer was Alexander Hamilton, so that was cool.
And we just talked about the anniversary of the Constitution, so much
that's
happened.
Right.
So much Americana this month.
In September. And on this day in 1893, New Zealand became the first nation to grant women the right to vote, way before the United States.
What year?
1893.
And even that seems like too late.
It took
you know
them
what I
a
mean?
while.
Like it took everybody a while.
And this is a sad one before we go to our movie show. In 2021, this is the day that the body of Gabby Petito was found in Bridger-Teton National Forest.
There you go.
So,
well, let's get to the movie show. So we have, I hope, Andy Farnsworth, a movie critic, Rachel Wagner with us. Andy, you there?
Yeah, thanks for coming to us with the sad story. Appreciate it.
There we go. Well, you
couldn't end with Talk Like a Pirate, where we could lead into like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Rachel,
how Jeffrey Rush has the greatest pirate accent in any movie ever.
There you go. Your favorite pirate, Rachel?
Oh, well, I'll go with Captain Hook.
Oh, of course,
how about
yes.
that?
Especially when in the movie with Robin
Williams.
Yeah,
that
was a
good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I don't remember who it was.
Well, how about Tim Curry as Long John Silver in the Treasure Island Muppet Treasure Island?
That one's so good.
There you go.
Underrated.
I might have to see that one because I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it's funny.
Okay,
It's the only way I can watch Treasure Island, which is the most boring story ever written. For pirates, you'd think it would be exciting. It is not exciting.
I actually agree with you there.
Okay.
All right, so our big movie this week, though, this one's a feel-good one also, and it is from Angel Studios, and it's a movie called The Senior. Now, it kind of is a fun play on words, but it's based on a true story of a guy named Mike Flint, who back in about 2005, he goes to his college reunion, his 35-year reunion, because he played college football in the late 60s, early 70s. But he got kicked off his team and kicked out of school because he was a hothead and he got into too many fights. Well, he goes to the reunion, and the guys are like, you know, Mike, you actually still have 1 year of eligibility left. Like, this is a real thing. Like, you still have eligibility because you left school. You have a senior season to come. And you know, he's got like a whole bunch of stuff he's working through that we'll talk about when we review the movie. But he goes in to convince the coach to try out for the football team. And the coach is kind of like, first the coach thought he was coming in to see if he could be a coach. But he's like, no, I want to play. So there's like, well, you can come to tryouts, I guess, if you want to. And so he makes the team. He makes the 54-man roster. And it's kind of all – it really is a Rudy type of story. Like – except for a 59-year-old man who's trying to play college football. This is Division III college football, a tiny university in East Texas. Or West Texas. Sorry, boy, Texans get mad if you get mixed up between East and West. I'll tell you that much. So this is just – it's a feel-good movie all around. It's completely clean. Mary Stuart Masterson plays
his wife.
His wife. Boy, she's come a long way from Some Kind of Wonderful way back when. But I loved that this was I think it was the allergies, but my eyes were watering towards the end of the movie. It was really weird. I don't know. It was kind of convenient. They didn't water the whole movie, and then they really kicked in towards the end. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's a nice underdog sports movie that I think people will be able to relate to, and it also deals with those family themes, him and his son, and working through their issues and stuff. So
that's very
and
sweet.
His dad too. Like that's where it's kind of cool. So we got interesting the way the movies there's some similar themes between different movies. Football's one of them because we've also got a movie that couldn't be more different of a football movie than the movie called Him, and then there's some other themes of dealing with like emotional traumas and how they affect you later on with the movie A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. So it's interesting how kind of they dovetail together. But
emotional trauma is the message of the week.
Exactly. See, so we are even sort of leading into that on the movie show. That is a great point, Holly. I'm going to have to remember that.
We did have a text to remind us that it was Dustin Hoffman who played Hook in Hook.
I knew. I was trying to
anyway,
figure who that was.
What's your movie question for us?
Well, in honor of the passing of Robert Redford, especially with his impact here in Utah, we just want to know, what's your favorite Robert Redford movie?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat and give you my top three, but I'm going to just start with this one because it's the easy one. Played with Robert Newman. Paul Newman. Robert Redford, Paul Newman. The Sting, that was a good one. I just loved that movie. And I thought that, those two teamed up in what everybody would think is their favorite movie, which is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, although that doesn't seem to be anybody's favorite movie. My favorite sports movie of all time, I'm just a short line from this, you'll probably pick it up. It's not my favorite it's not my favorite Robert Redford movie. It's my favorite sports movie.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I blew it. We're going to play it again. I forgot to turn the sound on. Here we go.
Go pick me out a winner, Bobby.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start crying. You can't listen. That's from The Natural, the greatest sports movie of all time.
That's hard to disagree with that. People try to go for Field of Dreams. No, nothing tops.
Oh, that
the
you cried
lights
during
exploding
that one too.
And running around the bases with basically fireworks coming down on the field. Nothing tops that in a sports movie. Nothing.
Okay. You ready,
I
Holly?
haven't seen it, so.
You ready for Holly's?
Okay, I'm ready for Holly's.
When did you learn to fly?
Yesterday.
So
that's a hard one.
That movie is out of Africa, and it came out in 1985, but I did not watch it until literally a year or two ago. It's
Wait, you didn't watch it or you didn't finish it until a year ago because it's that long? It took you 20 years.
No, that's funny, haha. But no, I hadn't watched it until just I think maybe a year or two. But I really enjoyed that one a lot, and the underlying story of the beauty of Africa, and we have kids who've gone to Africa anyway. So that was mine.
Okay, and you guys are very kind to me today because you could let me play 3 Robert Redford movies. But I'm just a huge fan. This is not only my favorite Robert Redford movie, it's my favorite movie, period, of all time.
Which way you headed, Jeremiah?
Canada, maybe. I hear there's land there a man has never seen.
Yep.
You know what that one is?
Well, since he said Jeremiah, I've got a pretty good guess.
Okay. Jeremiah Johnson. I'm going to watch that this weekend.
By the way, he has been a meme forever online, and people just thought it was some random guy with a beard in the wilderness.
Oh, that's
and
so
they're
funny.
Like,
I've
that's
seen
Robert
the meme.
Redford?
Oh, my gosh. I've seen the
People
meme.
think it's Zach Galifianakis.
Right, yeah.
All right, so we'll be taking people's favorite Redford movie, and we have a special guest you'll want to be listening for sure at noon. And by the way, if you love Jeremiah Johnson, Greg, we're going to hear from Robert Redford about that movie.
Oh, I'll be
better be
listening. We'll be
listening.
listening. Stay tuned for the movie show.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top story this hour. Utah employers added 33,600 jobs over the past year, according to the latest numbers released today. Department of Workforce Services spokesman Jared Mendenhall says Utah's economy remains strong, even while the national economy has slowed.
Overall gains were led by education.